Well, hi guys, welcome back to TJM. I have been buying and selling Jaguars for 20 years, from $500 to $100,000 cars. And I've always been able to sell them. But why can't I sell Mr. White? Let's look into it and see why. Okay, before we get started, remember last week I was telling you about this new product, the TP6000 Pro. It's a battery charger and a battery tester all in one. It's a pretty nifty little product. They've sent me one to test and try. Now, it works with two ways. You can work it just by a standalone, but it does have an app, so you can do everything via the app, or you can do everything via the TP6000 Pro. Now, we have a battery that we're going to test it on. This is out of this Rover 75 that I've got that I think the battery's gone. So we're going to charge it up first. Pretty simple. It's just hooking it up and turn it on. It's telling me it's only got 10.5 volts coming from that battery because she's pretty flat. And what the TP6000 Pro will do, will just assess what charges in that battery and then allow what amperage it needs to charge at to start with. And it'll go through its process and hopefully charge the battery up to full. And then once it's charged, we're going to test it and see how good that battery really is. I think she's knackered, but let's get it fully charged first, and then we'll do some testings with it with our TP6000 Pro. Well, for 20 years, I've been buying and selling Jaguars, and boy, have I bought a lot of Jaguars and sold a lot of Jaguars. I keep some goodies, but mainly I just like to buy them, have fun playing with them for a while, do them up, and get them back on the road and give them another lease of life for the next owner to look at, because they're all classics and I do love them. However, they've been always easy to sell. Some go quicker than others. I've got Mr. White on the market, my 1977 4.2 litre XJC. It's been for sale now for 4 months. Now, I'm always a realist with price. I study the market intensely because I'm always buying, and I've always got my finger on the pulse there. But due to this current market with classics and used cars, nothing is selling. Nothing is selling whatsoever. We've had 13 interest rate rises in the last 12 months or so. Inflation's going through the roof. Everyone's just tightened the belt, and I can understand that. But there must be some sort of market for it. I've had one person look at it in 4 months, and he was pretty much just a tyre kicker, but he was picky. He did pick a few things out on the car, which I sort of knew about, but you sort of overlook them a little bit, and you think, well, you know, the next buyer can look after that one. Let's go through those things that he's picked and see whether or not I should get them fixed, and whether that's going to help the sale or not. And I'll let you guys be the judge. The first thing he did was walk around the body looking for any signs of rust. Now, this car was a Goulburn car when I first bought it back in 2006, and it pretty much had zero rust in it because it was in such a dry climate, but it had a lot of sun damage, so it needed a full respray, which I did back in 2008 roughly. And I did a new vinyl roof on because the old vinyl roof was stuffed, and I did a lot of work on the interior. And pretty much it's been a rolling restoration. And it's always been on the road almost. It got laid up a bit during the GFC, where I didn't have any money and it just sat in the garage for a few years. But let's have a look at the things that he pointed out and whether they're worth fixing or not. Well, the first one was that it's a tiny little bit of exterior surface rust. It doesn't come from the inside because I had the whole interior stripped many years back, and I've protected all the inside there with fish oil, etc. So I know it's not coming from the inside, but it is coming from the outside, and that is too. And it's probably just a little bit of water that's got into underneath the paint. It needs to be fixed, but it's been like that for a few years now, and that was one of the little iffy things that he picked. Another thing he picked out was that little crack there, which is just probably just more of a chip and tidy up and probably needs a bit of brush touching. What else did he look at? he didn't like the leaper. And now the leaper's not supposed to be on a Series 2. It's been put on by either a dealer after or one of the previous owners. Sort of don't look too bad on a Series 2. I don't really mind it. I'm against leapers on cars that are not supposed to have them, but this was on it and I didn't want to patch the holes up, so it's staying there. He didn't like that. There's a dent in the boot. I knew about that. He was very picky with that. However, probably a dent man can pull that out blindfolded. I did that in the garage. But he also didn't criticise my rear bumper. It's a little bit pitted. It is 47 years old, don't forget, so it's not new. He didn't like the idea that it was pitted. He criticised under the seals, under these lower rear quarters there, because there's a few little old dents in there that could be fixed. But you don't really see them. There's no rust. It was painted back in 2008. That lower skirt, old mate didn't really get down there and do a wonderful job painting that. He painted it, but there's still a couple little dents there. Our tyre kicker wasn't real happy with that either. I've done a lot of work on this interior of this car over the years, bits and pieces. It's got a new crash pad in it. The old one had cracks. I put new crash pads there. I put new timber in. I cleaned up all the gauges and put the little chrome dials on them, which is pretty groovy. I did new door cards, did them myself, bought them and recovered them because they were a little bit wonky. It's got brand new carpets throughout. The only negative things I haven't done is the headlining, which I've got the material for it, but it does need doing. And I understand that needs doing, and it's a little bit shabby in some corners there. That was one of the nasty things he said, but he claimed the interior looked old. I thought, well, it is old. It's 47 years old, but does it look shabby? No, I don't think it does, personally. When I did get the car painted, I didn't have the engine out, so the engine bay wasn't painted, but it's still pretty tidy in there. We're not criticising how bad it is. It would have been nice to have the engine out. It's not a concourse car. But that was one thing he didn't like. My chrome scallops, this hubcap's got some rust in it. And if someone was to make me an offer on the car and they say, I don't like that hubcap, I think I've got half a dozen of them sitting around. I could have put a tidier one on there. I might do that just for the sale if someone comes to have a look at it. So once the battery's hooked up, we just go through the charging modes to which one we want. In this case, we're just going to set it to normal. Normal 12 volt. I think I've just gone past it. Small. Repair. Normal 12 volt. It's allowing 2.5 amps to come, but it'll vary the amperage and the voltage to charge it up to give it the best performance it can on charge modes. And once it's fully charged, then we'll test the condition of the battery and see it's worthwhile keeping or not. So if we open up the app, we can currently get a current status of our charging. So if we hit our smart charging, we can get our power graph, and if we flick over here, we can get the amperage and the volts that's going through there at the same time. So the green is the amp, so we've got 3 amps going through at the moment and 13.5 volts, and that reflects on my LCD display, which is doing the same. And it'll give us our indication of we've been charging it for an hour. We've got 38.4 watts with 2.9 amp hours cooking. And when we're finished that, we'll go down and do some tests and see how well this battery's going to perform after it's fully charged. So besides the paint and a few other things, what have I done to this car since I've owned it? Well, what haven't I done to it? Early in its years, it went down to Graham Lord and had all the breakalators front and back done, and a lot of suspension work. It had new steering column put in it and new knuckle joints in the steering. Had new universal joints. It later on went up to Dr. Jag, and I got new King springs put in it, which are just lower the car. Not too much, only around about 10 to 15 millimeters, which just gives that little bit of better stance. It's brand new Connie shockies all around, adjustable Connie shocks. The motor is original. It looks like that motor may have, that engine may have been reconditioned prior to me, because I've never had to do anything with it. It's pretty solid. It's well tuned. I got the carburetors rebuilt on it. It's got a reduction starter motor. It's got a brand new gearbox, BW65 in it. That cost me $5,000. I did last year because it was slipping a little bit. It's very quiet. The diff is good. All the rear suspension and all that rear cradle was tidied up. Recently, I've got new engine mounts in it. It's got new belts. It's new clutch fan, new hoses, new coolants. I always do the coolant once a year anyway. So she's a good car. She's very reliable. You could drive this to Perth, I believe. She doesn't overheat by any stretch of the imagination. I've had all the air conditioning rebuilt on it, a new lightweight compressor, new condenser, new receiver dryer, and new hoses. So all the new high pressure hoses were rebuilt so it doesn't leak. A lot of work. Oh, and I found a left-hand mirror, which are like hen's teeth. So that sits nicely in place. And I always think the left-hand mirror looks like it balances the car. I don't like it when Series 2 or Series 1 only has one mirror on the driver's side. It annoys me. Okay, back to our battery charging. It's now telling me it's fully charged. So we'll stop the charging. Stop charging. Our current, it's just trickling amps now, and it's at 13.5 volts. So we'll stop the charging. Stop, confirm. Fully charged. So let's do some test options now. So we'll do a battery test first. It tells you what to do there. Yeah, our battery is CCA cranking amp hours or whatever, 500. Next, testing. Okay, we're in trouble. State of health, 58%. That means out of the 500 CCAs, we're only getting 382. So that battery's on the way out. Now we know if you want to go on a trip somewhere, you would test that battery first. Otherwise, you don't want to be caught out somewhere in the bush and have a flat battery and not being able to get going. It's pretty much the market that's the reason why that car's not selling. Let's talk about us heading into Australia, heading into a recession shortly. In the classic car market, this bad since the GFC. It was pretty bad then. Mind you, you could have picked up a few bargains back then, which I didn't have the money for. And while I browse these sites, I'm seeing dozens and dozens of classic cars that every week they're just reducing their price more and more on them. Like I did with Mr. White. I think I've reduced the price at least 4 times since I started advertising over 4 months ago. There's a couple of other my Jaguars I'd like to move. I would sell my gorgeous XJ40 Jane, which 1989 model, one of the early ones with the digital dash. And she's a glamour. She's low kilometres and she's in beautiful, beautiful condition. But I'd be struggling to get $4,000 for that. I've seen some nice ones going for at least or less than that. The XJSs drop their price daily, like from thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. And it's only happened in the last 12 months. I sold my black XJS convertible about 13 months ago and got really good money for it. And I'm seeing cars that were later model, better condition than mine, selling for less than what I got for mine 12 months ago. So I can't complain too much. I sold on a high then. And even that Rover 75 I bought, it's a lovely car, and I only paid $800 for it, and I really only bought it for contents of the channel. But if I go and try and register and insure that, that'll cost $1,000. It will need new brakes, discs, that's about $600. It needs 4 new tyres because they're about 10 years old, those tyres. It's not going to pass roadworthy with them. And there's probably a few other notables that I don't know of yet. Driver's seatbelt's not really working all that well. But anyway, by the time you add all that up, that thing's going to owe me $4,000. I'm seeing really nice ones. Mind you, I haven't seen them in the flesh, but Rover 75's registered with low kilometres, selling for less than that. So what hope have I got with it? So I don't know what to do with it at the moment. I'm just going to play with it a bit more, just watch the market, see how we go. So I'd love to hear from you guys if you had some experience in buying and selling classic Jaguars, whether you bought a bargain lately or if you're trying to sell your Jag. Just pop a comment down below. I'd love to hear your experience. And before we wind up, I'm going to put a promo link down below in the comments for the TP6000 Pro. Click on the link and you get, I think it's a 20% discount off recommended retail price. And thank you, Top Don, for allowing me to review your product and for giving me one. And if anyone does buy one, and also give me a comment to let me know how you went with it, because I think it's a great little tool to have in your garage. So thanks very much for watching, guys. Please give it the thumbs up. Really helps the algorithms of my channel. And if you're new to the channel, just press this button down there somewhere and you can follow some of my silly videos. Thanks, guys. We'll catch you on the next. Oh, don't forget to leave a comment. I love hearing from you guys. Catch you next time.